Hello, everybody. This is Paul Hoyt, your host and CEO of Ascending Harvest, here with my best buddy, business partner, resident genius, Shane McKenna, bringing you our live daily update on our Ascending Harvest project, which we are very excited. We've got some very big news for you today. We are excited about September the 19th for our launch date. We were waiting to secure the venue and get all of our plans in place. We're going to share a lot more about that tomorrow on our Zoomcast, which is going to be a Facebook event. We're going to focus on the stages of a crowdfunding project. We're going to focus on our launch sequence, which is now 3 weeks from, what are we, T-minus 20 days or something like that before we actually launch the crowdfunding project on Indiegogo to raise the funds that we need to continue prototypes and pursuing grant opportunities for this amazing project. And for those of you who haven't heard too much about Ascending Harvest, Ascending Harvest is a company that is absolutely 100% focused on doing what we can, which we think is a lot, to feed millions of families in developing countries and refugee camps around the world by providing human-powered hydroponic systems, systems that allow people to grow their own food when they have precious little water, no gardening experience, and no electricity. It's all the brainchild of Shane McKenna, my partner, who I'm going to let say hi right now. Say hello, Shane.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to our live Zoom, our daily Zoom. We sure have a lot of fun here, and I'm super excited about some things that we're talking about today because we've been talking about some of the plant and soil science, but today we're going to delve into an area of plant and soil science that our system provides a completely unique and highly beneficial aspect to growing plants that other hydroponic technologies just can't do. So I'm super excited to talk about that and explain that in greater detail.
You know, I was excited to hear that Shane was going to talk about that too. And as in previous Zoomcasts, when it comes to the technology and when it comes to soil science and when it comes to the science of growing plants, I get to be the one who asks the questions and he gets the one that has the answers, which suits me just fine. And I'm sure you're going to be happy with that too. So, big question, Shane, is, you know, you talk about the role of fungus and microorganisms. We talked about photosynthesis and we talked about, you know, plant magic a couple of days ago. And I think today we're wrapping that up by talking about fungus and microorganisms. What role do they play in the healthy growth of a plant? And how did you come to engineer that into our human-powered hydroponic systems?
So it'd be a lot easier to cover what they don't do, because there's an entire colony, there's an entire world of interaction and symbiotic relationships going on in soil, and a lot of this we're only barely beginning to understand. Let me give you a really great example. So there's a permaculturist, and he decided that he wanted to prove his technology, so he took on a project in Jordan, which is 1,200 feet below sea level. The land is completely denuded. It's very salty ground, and when he decided to do this permaculture farm there in Jordan, which is also, I believe, the least amount of rainwater in the world. So he wanted to pick the most harsh environment to grow food. And everybody told him, you're nuts. It'll take you 1,000 years just to flush the salt out of the soil. Well, they went ahead anyway, and I won't go into a lot of detail, but they planted figs, and they started getting figs on their trees in the very first season. Wow. And so this really caught people's attention, and they were asking the question, how is this even possible? There's so much salt in the soil. How is it even possible? Well, there's a lot of things that he did, including introducing a lot of biomass, But what they discovered is that the fungus in the biomass and in the soil was actually surrounding the salt crystals and locking it up, locking up those salt crystals so that it couldn't get to the plant. Now that is a really serendipitous discovery, but it just goes to show that if you create the environment where all this microbiology can exist, that there's things that go on that we don't understand yet. And it was only about a half a dozen years ago that we discovered that it's actually the fungus that transports minerals around in the soil and makes them available to the plants. So there's a symbiotic relationship in fungus, and beneficial fungus, and the roots of plants. And the fungus gets to feed off of the sugars and other byproducts that the roots expel. And in return, the fungus can transport minerals. And I seen one study that said that they had observed mineral transportation up to 4 feet in the soil by fungus.
Wow. Wow.
So there is an intelligence in the network that we don't understand how that works. But when you have quality, healthy soil, these relationships, some of which, like I say, we don't understand yet, these relationships can flourish. So some of the things that we talk about when we talk about the microbiology of soil is some of the larger life forms like worms. Worms have a very important role as they break up the soil and they bring nutrients from the surface down deep into the soil, because they come up to the surface, they grab organic material and eat that material, and then they go back down into the soil and they defecate, and that worm poop fantastic fertilizer. It's one of the most excellent fertilizers that we know of. So much so that worm compost and worm tea and all of these byproducts of worms are highly prized by organic gardeners.
Cool. Well,
other things that, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, let me interject here for a second with kind of a follow-up question on what you're saying. So we understand that fungus is really important, and it's really handy to be able to introduce worms into your soil or soil replacement, but normal hydroponic systems don't do this, right? You're the first person I ever heard of that talked about having worms and fungus and other microorganisms, as a possibility within a hydroponic system. So go ahead. Why don't they have it, and how did you come to realize the benefits of having it in our systems?
So actually, when we are designing an organic hydroponic system, we actually accommodate for worms in the system. They don't necessarily live in the root zone of the system. We'll put that in a separate container from where our plants are at, or in a separate system, and we'll run the water through that system so that the worms can eat some of the organic material and algae and different things that the worms consume, and then that water that the worms are living in, that zone that the worms are living in, then gets cycled back through the plants and becomes part of the system. But worms are not typically right at the root zone of plants and doing the other functions that they normally do in hydroponic systems. And in hydroponic systems that are using chemical nutrients and additives, they typically don't put worms in because those things are typically toxic to worms. So, so the long answer to your short question is we do use worms in other natural organic hydroponic systems, but not in the root zone of the plants, except in some very specific systems that will allow that.
Do other hydroponic systems have the same ability to have naturally growing and occurring fungus in there that really facilitates the growth of the plant?
Not the beneficial soil fungus that we're talking about. The beneficial soil fungus doesn't live in other hydroponic grow media. And the reason that we can incorporate it is because we have a hybrid system. We essentially have a dual system. We have a hydroponic layer on the bottom that is ensuring that we get the benefits of hydroponics, which is that consistent water and nutrient delivery to the roots of the plant. And then above that, we have a soil layer, and that soil layer is what allows us to bring all of those healthy elements that plants naturally evolved and are designed for. So we get the best of both worlds. We get that consistent water and nutrient delivery and an additional system that breaks down organic nutrients into bioavailable plant food. We get that in the hydroponic side, and then in our soil side, we get everything else that plants are accustomed to. So the limitations of traditional hydroponics are that some of these symbiotic relationships and some of the nutrients and minerals that are supplied by those relationships do not exist in the same way in traditional hydroponics. And if they do exist, it's a very delicate balance and very hard to achieve. In our system, it's achieved perfectly naturally because our system contains soil. So we get the benefits of both hydroponics and soil without the liability of either system.
Do we need to introduce soil, or is our intelligent grow media, a really great soil replacement system? So if they don't have soil, or when they're first starting out, they might not have very much nutrient soil available to them. My understanding is our human-powered hydroponic systems can work just fine without soil, but they can augment the function of our system with soil that may be readily available to them.
That's exactly correct. So our system will work exactly like, I shouldn't say exactly, our system nutritionally, the plant nutrition side, will work exactly like existing hydroponic system. And we can even put worms in the root zone, even though there's no soil there. Mm-hmm. And so we can still feed the worms right in the system, even if there's no soil, and the system will benefit from that addition of worms to the system, breaking down organic material, and then the rest of our system processing that organic material to make it bioavailable. So yes, our system will work without soil. However, there's certain benefits in soil that just, like I said, are so hard to achieve with hydroponics that the addition of soil just takes us to the next level. Now, with our technology, I've grown many systems that had no soil in them whatsoever. And those systems worked exactly like other hydroponic systems in terms of the plant production. I would say that the production was increased because of the reliability of that water and nutrient delivery, but it wasn't quite as good as when we create a dual system that has both the hydroponics and the soil. So where possible, we want to provide a system that's a dual system that allows people to get those benefits so that they don't have any limitations to what the skills needed to operate the system are, and also any limitations that having a system that can get out of balance if you're not very knowledgeable about hydroponics and plants. They don't have to worry about that because the soil is also a buffering factor in that part of the equation.
That's really, really cool. Yeah. Is this something you designed into the system, or was this just kind of a happy accident as you were creating intelligent grow media and you realized that, hey, wait a minute, I can do this too?
Yeah, so when I initially invented the technology, I was purely exploring its hydroponic potential.
Uh-huh.
Um, so the fact or the idea of adding soil, I mean, it was something that I initially understood, but when I first started testing systems, I was testing it purely as hydroponic system because there was some commercial application that with the presence of knowledgeable people to keep the system balanced, that a hydroponic only system has some tremendous benefits in commercial farming. So I wanted to explore that.
Mm-hmm.
But the soil, so I would say I started to physically explore the soil later, but I understood it initially right away.
Got it. Got it. I'm going to throw a curveball at you here.
Sure.
So this is a bonus question for 10 points.
What do I get for the 10 points? You keep giving me bonus questions for points, and I'm adding up points. I'm wondering when I get to cash those in and what for.
I'm going to have to create a little catalog of prizes that allow you to like redeem some of your reward points for, prizes of some kind, a cup of coffee, a glass of tea, so something like that. I'll sure I come up with something. But here's the question. So in backyard gardening, we talk about the importance of creating compost piles and taking your banana peels and the cores of apples and other organic materials, usually the byproducts of what we eat for dinner, instead of putting it down the garbage disposal, put it in some sort of a composting pile so that we can create some sort of a nutrient-rich mixture, typically of soil and organic waste. Is it possible then for our customers, the people who use human-powered hydroponic systems, to create their own little mini compost pile? And I've heard you use the expression green manure tea before, that can help supplement the nutrients in a system?
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually what's going on in the system is they are composting some materials. It's not a hot compost. It's a cold compost, so it's essentially mulch, and mulch is like nature's compost system.
Mm-hmm.
So mulch is the slow process. It doesn't create heat. There's not enough mass there to start to generate the heat that kills off pathogens, and so it's a slow process, but this is how nature creates plant food, is with this slow mulch process, the old matter dying and falling to the ground and decaying slowly and incorporating those minerals and nutrients that were locked up in that plant into the next cycle. And so it's a completely natural, slow system. To speed that up, one thing we haven't talked about, because I don't want to confuse people about how the system works, part of that weekly organic input is we're teaching people how to make green manure tea.
Yeah.
And green manure tea is simply taking harvested materials, locally harvested, non-toxic plants, preferably plants that have deep root systems, and you put those in a container and you fill the container with water, and then you cap it and you basically let it ferment. And what happens is that is a biodigestion process that breaks down those plant leaves and extracts the good stuff out of them. And when we add that to our system is designed to biologically process that and turn it into plant food. Some people add that to their garden. They dilute it and they add it to their garden. and they let the systems in their healthy garden soil break that down. But we've got an accelerated system that works on the water nutrient mixture part of our system to break that down. So that's a very beneficial plant food that people can make with any discarded container, which they have tons of in third world areas where they don't have a waste stream management system. They've got all these containers. We're going to teach them how to use those containers to not only make nutrient for their own systems, but then they can sell that. That can become an income stream for them. As many containers and as much material as they want to gather and make green manure tea, they can, once people start seeing the success they're having with that, that will be in demand for people's gardens, and they can trade or sell that and have that be another economic stream for them.
So in traditional hydroponic systems, there's operational costs. There's the operational cost of having electricity that powers the pumps that circulate the water and the nutrients. But periodically, they have to add nutrients to the systems. They have to filter the water out of the system. There's an operational ongoing cost. But with our systems, we've not only eliminated the need for the electricity, but it sounds like we've also eliminated or tremendously reduced the need for purchasing, some sort of a nutrient solution to add to the hydroponic system over time.
That was an absolute design imperative. We had to have a system that once it's in place required no follow-up in terms of nutrient input from outside their area. We needed to have a system that could basically make its own nutrients from what could be harvested locally. So just like you might keep a compost pile at your garden, there's no cost for that input other than your labor. And so the only ongoing cost of our system is a person's labor, and we're going to teach them how to create those inputs. They're very, very simple to do. The system is very simple, and you don't have to understand why it works or how it works. You just follow the steps, and it will provide you with food. So we're going to teach those simple steps, but and the important thing is that we have a system that through those simple steps will produce food, and that's what makes our system different. And that was the design imperative that intelligent grow media made possible. So if you don't have intelligent grow media, getting to this solution of being able to support a system with just locally gathered materials is extremely complicated and extremely difficult. And we've simplified that so that it's so easy that you can take a 12-year-old and teach them how to run this system, and they can do it.
Wow. That's awesome. Well, congratulations again on your innovations and your in technology here, which I really think is an advanced disruptive technology. I know I learn something every time I hear you talk about the capabilities of the system and the benefits that we can provide to the families that we want to serve. Any other thoughts, comments around the role of fungus and microorganisms and worms and green manure tea and all that other stuff before we move on?
Well, if you want the most nutrient density and natural organic food, you need to have great soil. And we make it possible for people to have great soil without knowing how to get to it and have all those beneficial elements, the worms, the nematodes, the microflora and fauna, the fungus, the bacteria, all of those elements that are naturally available. We are helping people leverage that and grow excellent, highly nutrient dense, delicious food.
That's awesome. I'm really looking forward to this. I get more excited every time I hear you talk about the technology. And for you, if you're listening to this, please go check out our blog entries at ascendingharvest.com, where you can learn a lot more about the what and the why of the project, a little bit on crowdfunding. We've had some inspirational messages. We've talked about intelligent grow media, the magic of plants, and the magic of photosynthesis, which is what we talked about yesterday. So you can learn a lot about how plants grow and how our systems have been created to optimize the natural function of the plants that we have, in our world today, which are just marvelous, marvelous things. I'm eating more salads and enjoying more fresh fruit and vegetables than I ever did since I started working with you, Shane, 18 months ago. And you really turned me on to the magic of plants and the magic of the systems that you've created.
Well, thank you so much. I hope that this conversation doesn't just sound self-aggrandizing, but I hope that people are grasping that we really do have an extremely unique and revolutionary technology, and it's going to make an impact in the world. First, in helping people that need it most, but in the future, don't be surprised if what you're serving at your dinner table has intelligent grow media to be thanked for its production.
That will be very cool. Well, let's wrap this up as we normally do, which is to give away a human-powered hydroponic system to somebody who has gone to ascendingharvest.com and signed up for our website, signed up for our list, which I strongly encourage everybody to do. Please go there so that we can send you updates, which of course we're getting ready to send out some really great updates just in the next few days as we enter into these final stages of preparation and pre-launch activities in preparation for the launch of our crowdfunding campaign on September the 19th. So please go to ascendingharvest.com and give us your email address. We're not going to spam you. We're just going to focus in on giving you progress reports and give you some opportunities to participate and play with us here, which I'm very, very excited about. So a lot of people have gone there already and have signed up for our list. We've been giving away human-powered hydroponic systems every day, and I am fired up and ready to give one away today. The way we do that is that we draw down all of the email addresses. We assign a random number to each one of them. I sort them into order. Shane gives me a number that he randomly chooses, and we come up with a winner. What's your random number for today, Shane?
All right, I'm going to push the button here and generate, and let's see what it comes up with. Let me read it here.
Okay.
6297.
6297.
My camera's not picking it up today. There we go, 6297.
6297. And the person who is closest to 6297 is Nick Karras. Nick, you are a winner of a human-powered hydroponic system. I'm going to send you an email here in a little bit, and you are welcome to get one of these systems for yourself when we start delivering them in mass, probably at the end of Q1 2019, or at that point in time, you can donate a system in your name to a family in need somewhere in the world. So congratulations again, Nick Karras, for winning a human-powered hydroponic system. We're fired up about that. Tomorrow, we're going to have a very special event. Tomorrow, it is the announcement of our crowdfunding campaign, the official, formal, here's the announcement, Facebook event and Facebook Live Zoomcast. Please join us then, if you would, please, and go to ascendingharvest.com and sign up for our list. In the meantime, we are getting really excited. We are T-minus 20 days to go to our to the launch of our crowdfunding campaign. Nick, tie us up and bring us home, buddy.
Paul, I'm so super excited to have our launch, and it's going to be a great time. So stay tuned to our Facebook. If you're within driving distance or traveling distance of our launch party, we would be excited to have you come, and we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to have a fabulous dinner, and we are going to raise some money. And so that's all going to end up helping a lot of people. So stay tuned. Come join us for our launch party, and let's kick this thing off in a big way.
Thanks, Shane. Thanks for all of you for listening. This is Paul Hoyt saying goodbye. We will talk to you tomorrow. Have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.